Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today where we'll be talking about the Bachelor of Management here at UTS Business School. My name is Rachel and joining me is Associate Professor Daryl Adair, who is the Course Director for the Bachelor of Management.
Hi everybody, yes, Daryl Adair here. I've been involved in the teaching of sport business and management for the past 25 years, which is my passion and which is part of the Bachelor of Management program. Before that, I had a 10-year career in banking, and you'll find that several of the staff teaching in the Bachelor of Management have a similar history to me. That is, they have significant industry experience, but have since taken up the opportunity to teach in higher education. So we've got a combination of practical and academic expertise.
Now, Daryl, there's often a bit of confusion because we have a Bachelor of Management, but we also have a management major within the Bachelor of Business.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two?
Okay, so the Bachelor of Management allows students to develop deep knowledge in one or more of the experience industries, as we call them. So that's events, tourism, sport, and the digital creative enterprises. Now, the management major within the Bachelor of Business does provide exposure to that knowledge, but students seeking to be experts in one or more of those employment sectors that I described are best advised to take the Bachelor of Management.
So who is the Bachelor of Management for?
Well, the Bachelor of Management is for people who are interested in and passionate about the various creative enterprises and industries across the sport, tourism, events and digital spaces. And typically these are people who like to work in a vibrant work culture. They're interested in shaping things that are part of the entertainment and experience sectors. And also each of these sectors are now very high tech and rely very much on design thinking, digital creativity and innovation. And so people who are involved in these industries are not necessarily shall we say, pigeonholed, that the skills across those can be applied. For example, if you start off in events, you might also then take those event skills into sport, into tourism, and so on. And so these programs are really for people who are quite adaptable, quite novel in terms of their thinking, and are very astute in terms of digital and creative ways of doing business.
So how does the course work?
Well, in the first instance, there are 8 core subjects which you can see on the slide. And in essence, they take you through things like marketing, management, accounting, economics, human resource management, law and ethics. And they even expose students to research skills, which are important for once you're involved in a business and need to actually do some scoping about how to understand and improve your market position. So it's a really important sort of underlying multidisciplinary foundation of the management degree. You get good exposure to all of those areas, which of course are fundamental to any of those experience entertainment industries. There's an innovation and design stream around business. And as you can see from the yellow highlights on the slide, they really focus on things like entrepreneurship. So what does that mean, particularly in this digital and disruptive environment? We've got, the Uberization and we've got of businesses. We've got the introduction, for example, of Amazon at scale. But what are these kinds of innovations, these platforms going to mean in terms of the of the sport, tourism, events industries, for example. And the other thing that's really important in this stream is management skills. It's all important to be creative and to understand the way in which entrepreneurship functions and in which you have innovation strategies, but you've got to have skills as a manager. So that's really important as well. The major is comprised of 8 subjects. So for each of the majors, the relative subjects will be available for prospective students to view on the website. There's 32 of them, so there's obviously way too many for me to go through here. But what you can see is, in terms of the way they're positioned, is that students get an opportunity to get a flavour of their major in every year. Following on from that, there is also the opportunity for students to do electives. So 4 subjects in year 3, and essentially students can take pretty much whatever they want. And sometimes what a student, for example, in sport will do is say, well, actually, I want to do a little bit more of accounting and finance, so that when I come into a job environment, I've got really strong fiscal literacy. Or somebody in events might say, look, I really want to get deeper in terms of marketing, so I'll go and do more marketing subjects. Others might simply say, I really want to just learn something else. I want to do a bit of a language, or I want to understand more about international relations, whatever it is. Those electives are available for students to choose as they please, and they should add value to what the students are interested in. So it's complete choice.
Now, our first major is events management. What exactly is event management?
Well, events, as you see by the image there, look, it's an exciting place to work, because this is fast changing. Okay, you've got events that are part of the calendar every year, but you've also got events that are established for special purposes, and you've got to remember, Sydney, aside from what we're experiencing with COVID-19, has long been Australia's premier event city. Now, in terms of the way that event management works, you're talking about the logistics of establishing events, promoting, marketing, ticketing, traffic and security management. You're talking about meeting the requirements of policy around government. The whole event ecosystem requires tremendous sophistication, because obviously, while we want things to go well at an event, there are also important mechanisms for when things might become problematic. So there are a whole range of learnings and applications, and the academic contribution to the way events have grown and become more sophisticated and successful in Australia is very well known. Well, sport in this country and internationally has been, a fast-growing industry now for decades. If we look at Australia, Australia is the only country in the world that has, for instance, 4 professional football codes. No other country in the world has as many national competitions. The growth of women's professional sport competitions is unprecedented in this country, and is being mirrored in places like the United States and the UK. So this is a very dynamic environment, but it also involves the requirement of skill sets. And this has become no less obvious during the crisis of COVID, because what has happened is that you need individuals who have very strong understanding of accounting, finance, revenue, and of course, designing alternative revenue streams and even alternative products. I mean, one of the most interesting growth areas, which we will cover in this program, is esport. During COVID-19, esport has grown exponentially, and many traditional sports actually now have esport relationships. So don't think of this as just simply traditional sport. There's a growing digitization around the way in which sport and other experience industries are consumed. Look, tourism has long been one of Australia's strongest sectors in terms of the number of visitors, in terms of the revenue, in terms of the contribution to the Australian economy. Now, obviously, during COVID-19, there have been significant constraints on that. But of course, that situation we all earnestly hope is going to change come next year and beyond. Now, tourism operators who traditionally would be looking at, for example, lots of visitors from China, from Europe, from Japan, and that kind of thing, that kind of opportunity will return. By the time you have your degree in 3 years, the tourism sector, we all hope, will have recovered substantially. And as a consequence, there'll be certainly the need for people with the requisite skills and ideas to take their place in that industry. And I think it's fair to say that the industry itself will have already thought about innovations, even if international travel is curtailed somewhat in 3 years' time. And by that, I mean some really significant innovations in virtual tourism. So people now paying for experiences where they're wearing, for example, headsets, they're swimming with fish in the barrier reef virtually. And these are things that are just beginning to take off as ideas, but need to be implemented in practice. And so the next generation of tourism professionals are going to be managing a really dynamic, multifaceted tourism industry. The digital creative enterprise major is the new one in our repertoire. The others have been around for 25 years. This is much more recent. But what it does is reflect the way in which businesses themselves are really not just reliant upon, but engaged with the digital environment. This is their shop front. This is the way in which the world engages with business today. And I don't mean just from a sort of a marketing and website perspective, but how they actually address strategic issues, how they assess problems in the marketplace, does require a kind of digital scoping exercise. And in doing so, they're applying design thinking principles, which students would need to learn about, which are much more adaptable and complex than traditional business thinking. Now, this kind of approach can be used in any business that has a digital shopfront today. And it's hard to think of one that pretty much doesn't. But also, one of the reasons that we positioned this major here amongst the other three is we think there's a really good synergy between the way in which those other majors are evolving and also digital creative enterprises. And we're very excited about this new offering.
Now, the internship subject is compulsory within the Bachelor of Management. How does it work?
We've deliberately made the internship compulsory because, in our estimation, people who work in these the sectors that are part of the Bachelor of Management will really benefit from workplace experience. Now, the way in which it functions is a student selects an organisation that they would like to have an internship with, and then they need agreement from that organisation to take them on as an intern. Now, we can help by providing a list of companies for whom we've had relationships in the past. So in terms of my experience, you can see from the slide that there's a number of sporting clubs that have taken our interns for many, many years. I mean, the Sydney Swans, for instance, you routinely take half a dozen of our students as interns. And what happens is that students work for the equivalent of 30 days full time, but it's actually segmented into 210 hours and then operationalized as it suits the student and indeed the organisation. And the purpose of doing this isn't for a student to simply go into an organisation, make people cups of coffee and photocopy booklets or something. They work on a project that is agreed upon by the organisation, the student, and also the university, and it's co-managed by those two stakeholders, and the student is then evaluated in terms of the way that they turn up, the way that they act professionally, and of course the project that they ultimately deliver, which is assessed by the internship provider and of course the university. One of the real benefits to this is having that tangible industry engagement, that workplace experience, but also getting a network of individuals in terms of your potential for employment. And so one of the things we encourage interns to do is to set up a profile on LinkedIn, and then they can list their internship experience. And if they've done well, it's very common for them to get references from that organisation. And sometimes in a few cases where job opportunities arise, our interns, when they become graduates, end up with employment opportunities with the company that had them as interns.
What are some of the career options available to students who pursue a Bachelor of Management?
Look, there's a tremendous variety of opportunities out there, but I'd like to just briefly focus on 3 examples. So first we have Marley, who completed our Bachelor of Management in Events in 2017. She has since gone on to become an event coordinator with the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. So kudos to Marley. Our next example is Michael, who completed the Bachelor of Management way back in 2008. And he, as you can see, has gone from a production assistant a year later with the Nine Network, right through to having really quite fascinating experiences working in television production at the Olympic Games, with Chelsea Football Club with their Chelsea TV production, and more recently, since 2016, as a producer for Fox Sports back here in Australia. So particularly exciting trajectory for Michael. And in tourism, Belinda is also a really sort of dynamic and engaging graduate. And as you can see, since she left UTS, she's gone from working in tourism overseas and in Australia, and now, wait for this, she's the marketing manager for the Asia region with Qantas Airways. So, 3 tremendous examples of the kind of career trajectory that's possible for those who do very well, and of course have a bit of luck and a bit of good networking along the way. Now, I mentioned COVID-19 and its dire impact on the experience industries in Australia and internationally. Given that you've got a 3-year degree, I think it's reasonable to anticipate that those sectors will have either partially or perhaps optimistically fully recovered in 3 years. Whatever the case, it's absolutely certain that innovations to the way in which those entertainment and experience industries are structured and the way they're delivered is something that is going to require some really critical thinking. And employment opportunities are going to be made available because we've seen a spill within those sectors this year. And going forward, the way in which the sector needs to reconfigure itself will be people with the kind of innovative, creative, design thinking skills that we've spoken about in this presentation. And I don't want to underestimate the new ways in which those kinds of things might be delivered. We may, for example, be looking at a scenario at Wimbledon whereby if people are unable to attend, they will instead be wearing a virtual reality set of glasses, be paying a premium for whatever event they want to watch. For me personally, I'm going to happily pay $100 to watch the final at Wimbledon, and I would like the camera angle right behind the umpire. And so there are innovations along these lines already. So what I want to say to everybody here is, yes, the traditional way in which the experience industries have been structured have been turned on their head by COVID-19, but the future, I think, will be very dynamic and may in fact end up being an industry sector which offers both traditional and very new forms of entertainment that would be particularly exciting.
And Daryl, what would be your top tip for a student interested in the Bachelor of Management?
I think follow your passion. I know it's easy to say that you should get a job that you enjoy rather than, a job perhaps that is expected of you by others. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to get out of bed in the morning and go to work and feel engaged in it. And if you feel a particular connection to one of these industry sectors, then I reckon go for it. Because what you want to do is have lifelong enjoyment and a feeling of being connected to your workplace. And so I hope you find that in one of our 4 options here.
Daryl, thank you so much for your time and talking us through the Bachelor of Management.
Look, it's been a great pleasure, Rachel, and I would encourage anybody watching, whether it's a prospective student or their parents, you can find my name on the UTS website. Drop me an email. I'm very happy to respond. And I hope to see you in 2021 at UTS. You'll enjoy yourself.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please feel free to explore our other videos detailing our courses and majors. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to us via our social media channels or contact us directly by phone on 9514 3074 or email business@uts.edu.au. Thank you.